Good afternoon, fellow alumni worldwide and our faculty and staff here in Central Philippine University, our administrators, our vice presidents. We are so pleased this afternoon that we have this special edition and we have called on a very distinguished technical director of the Department of Agriculture Region 6, Dr. Joyce Wendam. Ma'am, would you like to greet them a very nice mode in the afternoon with your, of course, with your background?
Good afternoon, everyone, to our international viewers, to our president of the Central Philippine University, Dr. Robles, all the officers, the teachers, the faculty, and the staff. Good afternoon. I'm very pleased to be here this afternoon, and it's really a very distinct privilege to be invited here as a guest.
First, I would like to inform our guests that this is the 21st edition of Looking Forward. This is the public affairs program of CPO TV. And because of you, we would be listening and learning more about the agricultural economics, not only of our university, but of course the agricultural industry of our country. First, I would like to ask you a few background of your work in the DA.
For my work, formerly I was the Regional Technical Director of the Department of Agriculture, Regional Field Unit 6 in Iloilo City. And I was also designated as Officer in Charge, Regional Executive Director of the Department of Agriculture of the defunct Negros Island region.
Before you left agriculture, what did you see? And what do you see now? I mean, was there a new atmosphere or changes in our agricultural landscape?
In terms of the implementation of the programs and projects of the agriculture, still the major focus is rice production. And the implementation of the livestock program, of the high-value crops program, the organic agriculture program are still continuing.
What about the industry as a whole? Do we have enough rice or staple foods that we can rely upon?
That's the major goal of the Department of Agriculture, to produce available, accessible, and affordable food for all. And last year, we have experienced that we have a sort of shortfall in our rice production, and that is attributed to climate change, to typhoons during the last quarter of 2018, and also inadequate irrigation waters.
I've heard that we have this Halao River project. How does that connect to our present situation in agriculture?
That would address our problem of inadequate irrigation waters, because the proposed project will be able to irrigate more or less 33,000 hectares.
That's all in Iloilo?
Yes, that's in Iloilo.
What is the current volume of rice that that is stocked so that we would have adequate supply?
With regards to our buffer stock, it's the function of the National Food Authority that there should be a buffer stock to assure that there is adequate supply of rice, so that people will be able to buy rice at any time. And in terms of rice production here in Western Visayas, we are always ranking in the top 5 in the whole Philippines. In fact, it's number 4. number 3, number 4. So we could be considered as Western Visayas as the net exporter of crops.
What is the biggest impact? Which field in our society has agriculture the biggest impact when it comes to problems in agriculture?
With regards to issues and concerns and problems in the agriculture, we could identify the lack of irrigation waters because irrigation water is very crucial in rice production. If there is no water, farmers could not go into rice production. But there are other options. They could plant other crops which don't need so much water. And also we have problems on lack of access of cheap credit, meaning to say lower rate of interest for the credit that will be availed by our farmers. But our concern is that generally farmers are avoiding the formal institutions, credit institutions, and they run to the informal lending institutions because of the problem of compliance of the stringent requirements of the formal institutions.
How does that affect our society as a whole and our schools educational system in particular?
If the quality of life of our farmers will not be improved, they could not send their children to school. But it's good right now that in the state universities and colleges, scholarships are being offered. Tuition is free. And but despite of that, students or the youths are not attracted to take up agriculture courses. We would like these youths to be interested in agriculture because they will be serving as successor generation. Our farmers are aging, and that is one concern of the agriculture sector, the aging farmers. If these aging farmers will no longer be there, who will succeed? Because our youths are reluctant or they are not interested to go into agriculture.
How do you appreciate the present concepts of Dr. Piñol is in Ilonggo, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you appreciate the programs of the Department of Agriculture and our government itself?
Secretary Piñol is very much into addressing the concerns of the small farmers. In fact, 2016, sometime 2016, he already proposed this rice competitiveness enhancement program in order to increase rice production. But unfortunately, the budget for that was not approved. But with this rice tariffification bill, 10 billion pesos will be allocated to this rice productivity enhancement program. And that's being proposed by Secretary Piñol.
Where does agri-economics come in with that concern?
With the increased volume of rice production, most likely the income of our farmers will also be increased. In this rice production enhancement program, farmers will be given direct financial assistance. And this is one of the features of this rice tariffification bill. And under this rice tariffification bill, farmers will be given speedy access or easy access of credit at a lower rate of interest, including the titling of their lands. They cannot access credit they find difficulty in accessing credit in formal lending institutions because collateral is a requirement, and our farmers do not own the land generally. What they are tilling, they don't own that.
Whatever happened to the agrarian reform law
So that's being addressed here.
also?
Being addressed here, the titling of these lands. So they will be assisted, or they will be given financial assistance and to speed up the titling of these lands.
What is the degree of facility that the government is extending to the farmers?
Ever since the government has been giving interventions to our farmers
Through what?
through provision of seeds before, but presently free seeds are not being given except to techno demo sites. And under Secretary Piñol's administration, farm mechanization is being given more emphasis. So he is promoting the farm mechanization program, the use of farm machineries and equipment in agriculture, because there is deemed a shortage now of farm workers. So that's why farmers are encouraged to go into farm mechanization. And then infra projects like farm-to-market roads. Also this irrigation systems. And others. There are several interventions, like for example, the giving out of free seeds, vegetable seeds, and then these other high-value infrastructure projects like farm machineries also, like nursery sheds, like greenhouses and others.
But anyway, how do you see or how do you look at the situation when most of the arable lands are now being converted into villages subdivisions? Are these lands already really not arable anymore, or these are just because of the agri-economics that we are saying?
So there is that uses of agricultural lands into non-agricultural uses. So that's being requested for conversion. And for the information of the people, the final say here is that of the Department of Agrarian Reform. They are the ones finally giving the go signal if the agricultural land will be converted or not. But the Department of Agriculture is evaluating whether that agricultural land is eligible for conversion or not. So inspections are being conducted. Soil analysis is also being conducted to determine whether the soil is still suited for crop production or for any other production. And then certifications from the National Irrigation Authority to certify whether the land or whether there is an existing irrigation system or firm commitment for the establishment of the irrigation system. Then there is that certification from the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources if it concerns fish ponds, certification from the Philippine Coconut Authority if there are coconut trees planted, from certification from the HULRB, Housing Land Use Regulation Board. So that's being required, several certifications, and that's being processed by the Department of Agriculture and submitted to the DA Central Office for final evaluation and to be recommended for conversion to the Department of Agrarian Reform.
Ma'am, that is just about the determination of the arable lands or for agriculture, if it will still be possible to plant there or not. However, there is this question: if who is the body? What is the body that determines if converting the land would already decrease our food production? That is something from our minds, of course. How do you analyze these things? They determine if that is not usable or still usable. However, the projection of food production, are they doing that also in at the same time that they are determining the type of soil there?
If the land is no longer productive, it's useless to plant crops there. You're just wasting your resources, your
Yeah.
efforts, money, time. So that should be put into more productive use.
Uh-huh.
And that's why that's being inspected. Soil is being analyzed whether suited still for crop production. Before that will be recommended, and several certifications are being required. And there is that diminishing of our production area. That's the concern
Yeah, that's
of everybody because of this land conversion. However, the agriculture sector also works for the maximization of the use of the remaining productive lands in order to increase production, including the upland. We have also to utilize the upland because they will be contributing also
But
to our production.
is there an action with regards to creating or developing a technology so that this land would still go back to its productive nature?
There are some researches being conducted, like for example, if it's a flooded area, a research is being conducted as to the suitable variety of rice to be planted there. If it's an upland area, what are the suitable varieties to be planted there so that it will give the highest yield. So research and development works are being undertaken.
Does that make rice exporters richer? Because the decrease in the food production or rice production here would mean additional importation, right? So how do
Yeah.
you analyze that situation?
Under this rice tarification bill, that's exactly the concern of this. Because this concerns importation of rice, even by individuals. So that's why rice being imported will be charged a tariff of 35%.
Okay.
That's the proposal in this rice tarification bill. And in order to protect also our farmers, because rice from abroad are cheaper compared to our local
correct.
rice here because of the production cost. For example, in Vietnam, production cost for rice there is something like 6 pesos per kilogram compared to ours, which runs from 12 to 14 pesos. So if being
That's when
sold,
we speak of
production
the
cost.
NFA,
no, production cost
production cost.
in producing rice. So if that will be sold here as rice, that will mean around 35 pesos per kilogram.
Okay.
And sometimes it runs even up to over 40 pesos per kilogram, depending upon the variety. And if Vietnam rice will come in with 6 pesos, for instance, production cost, the maximum that they could sell, more or less, will be 20 pesos compared to ours of even only 35 pesos.
Bigger cost.
So our local farmers will be hurt there because people will be buying cheaper imported rice. So here, this will be addressed. As I have mentioned, proposals in this rice tariffication bill is that farmers will be given easy access of credit at a lower rate of interest, and then more irrigation systems, and enhancing the capability of the farmers in terms of rice production, equipping them with technical skills, and also the education aspect of our farmers. There will be the farm mechanization also, and rice research development. So these are some things or some interventions that will be given in order to cushion the impact to our local farmers.
Do you think we have more being a victim or a beneficiary of this globalization in terms of course, this production, agricultural production? What is the effect? I mean, yes, the impact of the globalization trend to our agricultural industry.
Our rice, for example, we are always talking rice here because that is our
Yes,
staple
yes,
food. So there is a need to develop more crops as our export winners. In terms of rice, we are not competitive because, as I have mentioned, because of the higher production cost. We could not compete with our neighbors in the Southeast Asian countries because they have lower production cost. Also, our sugar cane, we could not also compete. And what we could do is to develop export winners. Like, for example, go into organic farming.
Yes. What is the role of the National Food Authority?
The National Food Authority is the one in charge of, I could say, buffer stocking in order to ensure that there will be adequate supply of rice.
But they're not into helping with the analysis and determination of rice production. They're just into buffing. That's what you mean?
Based on the data being given, our official data provider in agriculture is the Philippine Statistics Authority. So basing on those data, they have their own projections.
The NFA?
Yeah, the NFA, they have their projections, then they are also basing data from the Department of Agriculture, from the Philippine Statistics Authority, so that they could more or less accurately project how much rice will still be needed.
Well, we are here in Central Philippine University, and we have a College of Agriculture, which is now called as the CARES, the College of Agricultural Resources and Environmental Sciences. So I would ask Ma'am Wendam, as she is also a faculty, how do you assess our development in the College of Agriculture, Ma'am?
Our students in the Department of Agriculture, I could say they are globally competitive. Why? Because they are not only learning within the four corners of the room, they are also exposed in the field so that they could gain additional knowledge and they could experience what's really there in the field. So theories plus application of theories and knowledge in the field that makes them globally competitive.
What do you see in our College of Agriculture to make you see that would become a top College of Agriculture in Western Visayas?
In fact, in terms of employment, CPU graduates are in demand. In fact, in the Department of Agriculture here in Region 6, we have several graduates already employed by the Department of Agriculture.
So what is your appreciation of what we have in the cares? And do you have any recommendation for some plans or development to further the capacity of our agriculture college?
At present, rigorous research activities are being conducted by them. They just cannot graduate without undertaking this highly, or I would say, these research activities which they undertake with much vigor, and they apply their knowledge. What they have learned in the lower years will be applied here, or they are top caliber students with top caliber professors. So that will make them really globally competitive, and they could help in achieving food security in our country.
How long have you been teaching there?
I have been teaching there since 2014, and I'm very happy of the turnout of our students, because they are now employed by the agriculture sector, and they are showing good performance.
What are the subjects that you are engaged with?
I am more into financial management, planning, marketing.
Okay, so I guess Mom Wendam would have still something to say, and before we leave, she will give us some insights.
To the millennials, to our youths, I would like to encourage you to be interested in agriculture, to enroll in agriculture, because we need to have a successor generation. Agriculture is very crucial to our economy. You need to eat, I need to eat, we need to eat. So that's why we should be really concerned about agriculture.
So, by the way, Dr. Wendam here has been a supporter of the Agri Fair. We have been to the 8th year of Agri Fair, and she has always been behind us. So right today, we have heard Dr. Wendam with a lot of insights and knowledge about agriculture and the economy. So once again, thank you very much to our administrators, to our dear President, Dr. Robles, our Director for Communications, Reverend Neil Halandoon. I will be looking forward to another edition of Looking Forward. Thank you very much for watching. God bless us all.